is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to today's edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis, Connor Rabchak will jump on with us. He's back in town after what looked like a great trip out west for Connor last week. He'll join us a little later on. Mike McIntyre as well to recap the abbreviated Manitoba Open on the weekend. We'll touch on that. And we'll also get ready for Labor Day weekend, Bombers, Riders, and head out and welcome in Rob Vanstone from the Riders Media Department, a longtime reporter and writer for the Regina Leader-Post. One thing I'll just say right off the bat, want to express our condolences to the family of Craig Smith. Craig, for those of you that are regular with us here live on YouTube each day, Craig was a longtime regular daily WST listener. And I think most people know this. Maybe they didn't. Really decorated football man. Longtime CFL scout, worked at many different levels of football in Canada. And, in his retirement, spent a lot of time talking football with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, as well as some of the other shows in this space. So it was really unfortunate to hear that he wasn't doing well. And we did learn that he passed on the weekend. So I just wanted to express condolences to his wife, his family, and many of his friends, and everybody here that really is going to miss Craig's great football insight, witty banter throughout. And Rob Vanstone is going to jump on, and we'll talk a little bit about Craig as well, who passed away. Big loss for the CFL football community, but also for us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. So Craig will be greatly missed here in the chat every day on Winnipeg Sports Talk, and just wanted to start the show off that way. But as I mentioned, we will talk a little bit more about Craig's contributions to the CFL when Rob joins us a little bit later on today. Hey, I do want to give a shout out to Dallas Pauls. I see Dallas is in the chat. Speaking of regular, loyal WST listeners, checking in with us on a WestJet flight back home. Travel safely, Dallas. Great to see you. And I see Derek Schmidt in the chat as well. Derek, congratulations to you, who, of course, won the Cool Bet contest. And Derek's coming with us to Labor Day. Derek, by the way, send us an email, if you would, with your contact info, like your phone number. We got to get some stuff from you. So we just need to be able to holler at you. So if you could send that over, and we'll get all that set up. Listen, let's get Remis in here. I do want to thank all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. Thanks again to Ange and Pat from the guys for sponsoring our Labor Day contest. And for all you NFL fans that love the pick shows, guess what? We are back this week. Our future specials coming up later on this week, heading into the weekend. And then a week from Friday, the first of a weekly NFL pick show, Friday mornings, 10 a.m. as part of WST Winners presented by CoolBet. Cannot wait for that. Also want to thank Princess Auto. Great to see their support of the Manitoba Open on the weekend. Of course, St. Vital Dental Center and Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, Rollies Transfer, F Apparel, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes. What a weekend for the Gold Eyes with the Bark in the Park on Saturday. Of course, our friends at Breezy Bend, who just wrapped up hosting the Manitoba Open, and Assiniboia Downs. So speaking of Assiniboia Downs, live racing tonight. Not a lot of Mondays on the card this year, but we got Monday racing tonight. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for this last week of August, live racing. I think I'm going to head out to the track as well. We'll get to a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp, Waverly and McGillivray, and of course, get your feedback for fans first. Remo, what's up? How was the weekend?
Great weekend. Didn't take in the CEBL Manitoba Open going on as well. They finally teed off on Saturday. Nicely done there. And yeah, good weekend. Stayed in the city. I did take in this Europa Super Circus at the Downs parking lot. They put like some big tent, a lot of aerialists, acrobats. Interesting show.
Europa, what is it? They're bringing over the carnies from Europe?
Yes, like 6th, 7th generation circus family members. Pretty well. They are legit from Europe. I looked it up. So check it out if you're interested in something that's going on all weekend.
I've always been fascinated with carnies and like particularly like what you just said, like those circus families.
Yes.
There's got to be a good documentary or two out there on that sort of lifestyle, because it is so different than I think the average person that grows up in the same city around there. I mean, they're kind of nomads traveling the world, doing some of the craziest things. That actually would be very, very interesting. If you have any suggestions, if that exists out there, you can let us know.
Hey, I had a great time. They had people hanging off stuff, going upside down. Very, very fun show. So took the kids. My daughter, she's almost 3, very scared of the clown. The clown came out, and she just knew to be scared right away. It was, I don't know how you have that reflex, but knew she didn't like the clown.
How is she with mascots?
Doesn't like him. I don't think. I remember
it's a hard no on most things. Dogs, clowns, mascots.
Yeah, dogs doesn't like for sure. I don't think she likes mascots. We'll have to see. I'll try to get her out to a Moose game this year. And Mickey Mouse. All the kids love Mickey.
Maybe, you know what? Especially with her being a little girl, maybe Goldette at the ballpark would be the best way to sort of introduce her to the mascot world. Everybody loves Goldette, and Goldie for that matter.
Everyone loves. I agree. I was always a big mascot guy. I know you're the biggest mascot guy. Check out your conversation with Fink from last week, Mascot Day, with the Moose promo schedule.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I'll have to get her out to another Gold Eyes game this year.
I have told you this, and I've probably mentioned this on the story, but years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, before we were really advanced, like with video games and where things are at now, I always wanted to put together a video game which was essentially like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but with mascots. And I mean, it's a great idea. It would be an amazing game. Licensing every single mascot from sports would be really, really difficult, but I'm telling you, it would be those fight. I don't know whether the fighting games are as big as they used to be, Remis, but I think we could bring it back. Kind of like a Super Mario Kart of fighting games with fun furry mascots, not like ripping people's heads off like they do in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough sell for the teams to have your mascots doing that. I know you can be the mascots in like NHL, EA Sports. Mm-hmm. Very fun. I always be what they call moose.
Can they fight?
I don't think they can fight, but you can score goals with them. So I don't know if you got a favorite mascot. Moose, Bailey from the LA Kings, NJ Devil. There's a couple good ones.
Listen, why does us want to see mascots fight so badly? Who hurt you, us? Listen, we're talking about a video game here. Or, I mean, something fun, a professional wrestling style event with the Moose with all the... Listen, it is something I would like to see. What can I say? Hey, Donnie Boy mentioned right in the chat, normally we don't start off with golf, but it will start off with golf. Congratulations to Theo Humphrey of the United States, who won the Manitoba Open. Of course, really unfortunate situation with the weather early in the week that forced this to a 36-hole event. But Theo made the most of it, carding a 65 -6 on the final round to beat fellow American Peter Nade by one shot. He wins $40,000 and $40,500, which is a nice little paycheck for him. And amazingly, he did it while taking a penalty for, I believe, for slow play. I know Mike was around. We'll talk to that. We'll get into some other off-season talk. We'll see what he has to say about the upcoming Labor Day game. But it really was a huge golf weekend. Tommy Fleetwood finally winning on the PGA Tour and managed to do it in the richest event of the year, winning the Tour Championship yesterday by 3 shots over Patrick Cantlay. Listen, Tommy Fleetwood has had so many near misses and, was branded as kind of the loser, the guy that couldn't get this done, handled every single one of his failures with more class than probably anybody on the tour, to be honest with you. I mean, when you look at what's happened on the tour, Morikawa being, a bit of a brat earlier this year and then doubling down on it, Rory McIlroy winning the damn Masters and then ghosting the media a number of times. Tommy Fleetwood always stood up and owned falling short, and I think that's why people were so happy for him when he got the win yesterday. And even in the United States, where fans are already getting jacked up for the Ryder Cup, and you're hearing USA's, everyone was fired up for Tommy yesterday at East Lake in Atlanta. So a really cool way to end the PGA Tour season. We'll await the naming of the Ryder Cup captain's picks later on this week, and then focusing on Bethpage at the end of the weekend. But Remis, in addition to the Manitoba Open here and Tommy Fleetwood winning the Tour Championship, it was Canadian Brooke Henderson winning for the first time on tour in over 2 years. Brooke once again coming up huge on home soil, delighting the fans. And Brooke, who was like a 40-1 underdog pre-tournament at Coolbet, wins the Canadian Women's Open. It hadn't been a great season for Brooke, but a great finish for her. And of course, nothing like winning in front of friends and family on home turf.
Yeah, I hadn't heard Brooke Henderson's name, a lot recently. And you mentioned Canadians in golf. Corey Connors did finish in a tie for fourth in the Tour Championship.
He shot a 62 yesterday. Okay. Do you know what his check for that was?
Yes, he took home $2.6 million, and Tommy Fleetwood getting the $10 million prize for first. It's a nice payday, and Brooke Henderson saying it's been one of her worst seasons since turning pro, but taking home the CPKC Women's Open on Sunday, the first Canadian golfer to win the National Open more than once since 1914, and her 14th win on tour. So while you haven't heard her name a lot, I mean, what a career it's been for Brooke Henderson, pulling it out on home soil. So congratulations to her. Nice. It's been a good year. We had the tennis before the U.S. Open underway, a number of Canadians in the field. And here we are with the LPGA, Brooke Henderson. Also, hey, Corey Connors, not too shabby. Winning over $2 million there, even for a fourth place finish.
Yeah, Fleetwood became the first player to have the Tour Championship be their first PGA Tour victory since Chad Campbell did it in 2003. And I don't know, they've gone through about 20 different rules formats for this over the course of the last 22 years. But certainly congratulations to Brooke and Tommy Fleetwood and our Manitoba champion, Theo Humphrey. We'll get a little bit of a breakdown on everything that happened on the weekend with Mike McIntyre when he joins us a little bit later on. And you just touched on the tennis, Remo. We did have an all-Canadian matchup between Rebecca Marino and Leila Andy Fernandez in the first round of the U.S. Open. Leila managed to come by. The Twitter was going crazy with a kind of nuts late night game last night that saw Daniil Medvedev completely melt down. And the former, world number one, I believe at a time, out in the first round. He ended up winning one match at a Grand Slam this year and behaved like quite a petulant brat, I would say, yesterday. And he won't be around for the next couple of weeks in Queens.
Yeah, U.S. Open is a great tournament, wraps up the summer. You have these late night games too, which it's in our regular time zone here, the U.S. Open, but everyone going nuts. Photographer going on the court mid-play, Medvedev getting very upset and then losing and then taking it out on his racket.
Yeah.
So hey, it's tennis season, U.S. Open. Looking forward to seeing how the tournament progresses, and especially on the women's side with all the Canadians. Although, Mboko, she lost there in the first round. I see that now.
That is unfortunate. But I mean, listen, her run in Montreal was just such an incredible victory for her. It does, I think, make it very difficult to ramp it back up. And then obviously in the Grand Slams when there's so many great players. But fully underway right now at Queens. Matches going on. Maybe we'll take a look at what's coming up tonight a little later on when we get to the cool bet lines. But, of course, a big weekend of football, Reem. We had the big Bomber win on Thursday that we broke down on Friday. But 3 more games in the league, which we'll certainly dive into more extensively tomorrow on CFL 110 when Jeff Hamilton joins me here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. But the Calgary Stampeders do the Bombers, I guess, a bit of a favor going in and taking out the Saskatchewan Roughriders for the second time this year. Calgary is now 5-0 against Winnipeg and Saskatchewan on the season. The Riders get their second loss of the year, and all of a sudden, with BC's loss, which we'll get to, Edmonton's win, Saskatchewan's loss, Winnipeg and Calgary winning, as we get onto the other side of the midway point of the season, things tightening up a little bit in the Canadian Football League, and certainly the Riders a little closer to the Bombers now right before they go back-to-back in the Labor Day Classic and the Banjo Bowl.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a big heavyweight tilt, and wasn't really that close. Calgary's defense putting pressure on Trevor Harris all night, and then we had heard, Trevor Harris, he gets the ball out so quickly. He knows how to counter the blitz, but Calgary was in his face. He was on his back. This offense that has been so good. I know Keyshawn Johnson, he had over 100 yards, but really struggled to move the ball, get anything going, and Calgary was coming off the bye. Saskatchewan had played. I wonder if that played a factor. Calgary at home, but hey, you can only play the games in front of you, and Calgary against the Bombers, against the Riders, undefeated, and let's pull up the standings right now. That was a big loss for BC, but Saskatchewan still on top of the West at 8-2. Calgary right behind 7-3. The Bombers 6-4, and BC 5-6. So Calgary, they're legit, and what a story it would be if they did take the West title. I mean, their odds to win the Grey Cup before the season were near the bottom, but Vernon Adams, he's come in, giving them some stability and credit. He's talking about the Bombers missing a number of receivers last game. Calgary's missing 2. They had 2 guys out, Tevin Jones out and Dominic Rhymes, and it seems like whoever they bring in, this Dalen Baldwin has 84 yards and a touchdown. Philpott was pretty solid as well. So credit to Calgary for taking on Saskatchewan, beating them at home.
Yeah, that was, listen, their defense just took over. They shut out the Riders in the second half of the football game. Saskatchewan had a 1-point lead. It was 15-14 at halftime. And then the second half was all Calgary and all Calgary defense. The Stamps put up, 18 in the second half to win comfortably 32-15 over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And meanwhile, earlier on Saturday, this was a wild one. And full disclosure, I was expecting BC to roll Toronto. I was on BC minus 3.5. I tuned in to the first little bit of the football game, and Nathan Rourke looked like Nathan Rourke. Bang, touchdown, bang, touchdown. They're up 14-6. I'm like, all right, this is going to be easy. By the time it got to halftime, BC was down by a touchdown, and Toronto never stopped scoring, putting up the 50-burger, lighting up the BC Lions for 52 and pounding BC, handling them their 6th loss of the season. Listen to some of these numbers in this game from the Toronto side of things. Nick Arbuckle, 27 of 34 for 443 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Spencer Brown ran for 85 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries. You had Jake Herslau go for 149 and 2 touchdowns receiving. Deion Brissett, who was their second receiver, 118 yards. And Mattel had 8 catches for 76 and another TD. One of the great offensive performances of the year. And Nick Arbuckle now is like 400 or 500 yards clear of Bo Levi Mitchell for the lead in CFL passing. You just wonder what this team and this season would look like if they hadn't blown a couple games earlier on this season, or maybe their defense could have mixed in a few more stops. Because, listen, even without Coxie, who's one of the top 2-3 receivers in the league, they were able to put up massive numbers on BC, and I said this to Dusty in the lock shop. I wonder how quiet the defensive units were on that flight back from BC to Toronto. That would have seemed like an even longer flight. A really big loss for BC with Edmonton's win, and the Argos show a little bit of life that they're maybe not done at 3-8 on the season.
I like this comment in chat here from Boring Sean Monahan. Arbuckle has no mid-game. He's really good or really bad. And that was Grey Cup MVP Nick Arbuckle. Sorry to pour salt in the wound, but he was chucking it up, and these guys were wide open downfield, bringing it down. Herslow, as you mentioned, almost 150%, over 100. I mean, Nathan Rourke was no slouch. And now when they got out to a 14-3 lead and you thought it was going to be a BC romp, BC's back. Nathan Rourke, he's back to the player that he was a couple seasons ago in his rookie year. I mean, he threw for 326, 2 touchdowns, did have an interception. I mean, they put up 34 points, but when you're giving up 52 and seemingly every deep ball is going for a touchdown, tough to win. I guess the pick was a pick six by Rourke, so not really helping his cause there. I mean, they're looking okay too, BC, but that defense, that's rough. 52 to the Argos. I know when these West teams go east, we've seen it here with the Bombers, they have trouble, and maybe we should be taking Toronto more seriously. And yes, we were talking, BC, how are they favored? We're talking all week, us. How are they favored by 3.5? I thought it should be 6. We saw line movement on the other games, but that one stayed still. They know these bookmakers. That's why they take the action. Maybe we should
begging us to take BC, all hyped up on the Nathan Rourke train, and they got absolutely steamrolled by Nick Arbuckle.
Hey, we saw it here back in November.
We know what it's like.
We know the feeling. But credit to the league. Saturday, I fully was expecting BC to roll. I thought Saskatchewan was going to win over Calgary. I was very wrong about both those. It weren't close games, but definite upsets. And on Friday night, Edmonton, they're right behind BC's tail here at 4-6. They got some big games coming up for Labor Day themselves. And Cody Fajardo's really turned over that team in Ottawa. If they don't have, Drew Brown at quarterback, it's going to be tough sledding for them. Crum seems to only be able to have good games against Winnipeg. Against the other teams, he's just a regular backup quarterback.
You know what? We'll, I'll say we'll look ahead to Labor Day when we do the Why Not question of the day for Non-AutoCorp a little later on, as well as some fan feedback on the upcoming games. But let's focus in on the Bombers. Now, we have no reports on Stearns or Dembski. I imagine we'll get that tomorrow, Reem. But the Bombers and Kyle Walters in particular have been busy. And 3 Down Nation reporting a couple of signings. First off, John Hodge reporting that the Bombers are signing former Stampeders receiver Cam Eccles. Eccles is 30. He is an American from Texas. Played 12 games for the Stamps last season, catching 31 passes for 363 yards and 4 touchdowns. Also did some punt returning and kick returning. He was released in May. He had a 2-year USFL stint as well. So he's coming into the mix. We'll see where he fits in, whether he's a possibility coming up for the weekend. The other name, which I think is maybe a little more familiar to casual CFL fans, Remo, is the signing of Kyron Moore. And Moore played with Caleros during his rookie season in 2018, when both were with the Riders. He most recently played with the Elks in 2023, and he had a big season that year. 69 catches, 743 yards, 4 touchdowns, but missed the entire 2024 season with a torn ACL Kyron Moore, a very diminutive player, small guy, 5'9", 165 pounds, but some big-time moves. I remember him mostly as a dangerous player for the Riders, but as we mentioned, also played with the Elks. So they're bringing in some bodies right now, Remo. And listen, I'm hoping, as any Bomber fan is, that we get good news on Dalton Schoen, and he practices this week and can hopefully come off the 6th game, which is now up, and doesn't return to it or the 1 game and can actually play in the Labor Day game. I will say this, based on what we saw on Thursday night, I'm not expecting Jarrah Stearns to be good to go. I figured that shoulder's going to probably keep him out for a few weeks. The big question is Nick Dembski. And again, you just simply don't know when it comes to head injuries. Some guys recover very quickly and they're good to go. Other guys spend quite a bit of time out right now. So the Bomber prayer circle is on right now for number 10, and we'll find that out later on. But in the meantime, Kyle Walters looking to find some other options other than guys like Chris Streveler to go out and run routes. Although, as I mentioned on Friday, I'm still very in for mixing in Streveler a few times to see what he might be able to do to be a difference maker in that Bomber offense without the football in his hands under center.
Yeah, no official word on the status of Dembski or Stearns yet. Derek Taylor speculating after the Kyron Moore signing that it would indicate Stearns is hurt and out for a while. We don't know exactly the injury, but he did take a massive hit while holding onto the ball and a nice catch over the middle. And curious, I remember Kyron Moore on Saskatchewan. He had some nice seasons. He's had missed last year with the knee surgery. We'll see what he has to bring here when they suit up in practice. A number of chatters were letting us know over the weekend. Ontario Wilson, former Bombers receiver, put on waivers by the New York Jets as he tries to make the NFL. I imagine he'll continue to exhaust all options with NFL teams before deciding to come back, if he does, to the CFL. So we were kind of waiting, are they going to sign Ontario Wilson with all these receiver injuries? But we did have 2 signings today, as you mentioned, Kyron Moore and Cam Eccles. So we'll see what these guys bring, how they suit up as we're on depth chart watching. Yeah, you hope Nick Dembski can play, hit his head pretty hard on the field while getting tackled on a short throw. So something to monitor here this week as heading into the Labor Day Classic.
We're going to talk a little more football coming up and actually head out to Regina. Our pal Rob Vanstone, who, yes, while he will be in green on the weekend, big Jets guy, interested in his thoughts on the offseason. We'll get to that in just a minute. Gang, if you have plans on making moves in the next few months, why don't you holler at our friends at Rolly's Transfer to help you with that move. Rolly's is family-owned and operated for over 60 years in Winnipeg and is the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Check out their website at rollys.com, and in the top right corner, you can click Request an Estimate. Make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies for WST listeners, and then let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that Rolly's customers have become accustomed to for now into their 7th decade. For all of your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollys.com. We do have school coming up. I know I talked to Dr. Terry last week over at St. Vital Dental Center, and they are busy right now, but it is maybe a great time to get in, get a cleaning, get a checkup, or get whatever you need done on that grill so you're set going into fall and winter. Of course, St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans and handle customers from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of services, all the way up to things like dental implants. Find out more about St. Vital Dental Center. They got a beautiful new facility, 167 St. Anne's, free convenient parking right behind the building. You can make that appointment and find out more online at stvitaldental.ca, and make sure to say hi to Dr. Terry and tell him the gang at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. Our friends at the Canadian Club are getting ready for the Labor Day Classic. I may have to bring one of those Bomber label Canadian clubs out to Regina with us, hopefully to toast a victory. It is going to be a tall task, though, considering what the Riders have done so far this year. But Bomber fans, while they last, get down to your local Manitoba liquor marts for the limited edition Blue Bomber label Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And while we won't be having any CCs at Princess Auto Stadium until the Banjo Bowl, might be a great pickup for your Labor Day festivities, along with the CC Club Pack, ready-to-drink coolers, CC Ginger Ale, Citrus Smash, half and half, all available, along with the original Canadian Club at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And just before we bring in Rob Vanstone, got to thank Donnie and Manitoba Battery for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Manitoba Battery is your local battery store with the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores. As Donnie always says, wake up Winnipeg, stop paying more for batteries. You can save up to $60 a battery by shopping local at Manitoba Battery. You can see them on Logan Avenue at their original store, their new location on Dovercourt Drive in the south side of the city. But if you're busy, don't worry about it. Give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. and they'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter. It's just that easy. Get the best prices in town, shop local, manitobabattery.com for all your battery needs. All right, let's head west. A lot of talk about this big rivalry game on Sunday in Regina, and Rob Vanstone from the Riders joins us now. Rob, great to have you on the program. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You know what? Listen, I want to dive into the game and your thoughts on the off season, but we all lost a great friend over the course of the weekend, and I know you've got a piece at the Riders website, riderville.com, on Craig Smith, who, as I mentioned right off the top show, was a devoted WSTer, was in chopping it up, talking football, delivering his incredible football knowledge with us daily here. We hadn't seen him very much. We knew that he was ill and he passed away. And this loss is really being felt in Riderville, isn't it?
And across the Canadian Football League. If you look at, he worked for the Bombers, he worked for the Rough Riders, he worked for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, BC Lions, and you would see him at stadiums from coast to coast and throughout the United States. And his network of contacts and his wealth of friends was so vast that it's prompted this outpouring today. And, we've known for, some time now that Craig was struggling. And, I'm glad that so many people had the opportunity to reach out to him and that he had the opportunity to touch base with so many people and talk with them. And he was so open about the struggle, and that isn't easy to do. But as a result, I think a lot of people got to say everything they wanted to Craig. And, he's somebody who grew up, I guess, sort of a kindred spirit. I grew up in Regina, just obsessed with the Rough Riders. He grew up in Winnipeg, obsessed with the Bombers. And his dad, took him to games from, starting in the early 1960s. And he saw Kenny Plain and Ken Nielsen and Dave Ramey and Leo Lewis and Farrell Funston and right on through. And, he was charting and keeping stats of games when he was a kid, and then doing it for, taking meticulous notes as a scout and a personnel guy and as a coach. He just loved Canadian football, loved the Bombers, loved the Riders, loved all of Canadiana that the CFL encompasses and celebrates.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame that he won't be with us, especially at this time of the year, heading into the two biggest weekends on the prairies for the regular season. And, I did have the opportunity to text with his wife last week. I think a lot of people in the chat will be happy to know that, we were able to, send some messages of support to Craig, in his final days about, how much he was missed around here. The amazing football knowledge that he graced us with that you just don't normally get from people throwing in your YouTube chat. And, he really did enjoy this community, talking football with everyone. And it just speaks to how this wasn't a job for Craig. This truly was a labor of love that started as a kid here in the Peg and continued throughout his illustrious career in the 3-Down League.
When my wife, Chrisula, and I went to visit Craig in hospital, and on the table beside his bed, there was a NFL preview magazine. And one of the big deals every day or every week was to make sure that on his iPad he could watch the CFL games. And he told me 2 weeks ago he wanted to make it through the weekend, see Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the CFL, and he lived to see 2 subsequent weekends of the CFL. That's the kind of fighter he was, and starting in 2017, he had this battle with acute myeloid leukemia, and just his spirit and strength and willingness to engage with people. I know it's of a lot of comfort to other people who are dealing with adversity. And you look at it and you think, if Craig dealt with this the way he did, well, maybe I can too. And I think that's going to be a source of strength that a lot of people are going to draw upon. And he was so beloved, and he was one of those guys too, Huss, that he didn't. If you asked him something specific about a player or whatever, then he would just remote this encyclopedia or just rattle off this encyclopedic scouting report of a player. But he wasn't one to walk around saying, "I know this, I know about this, I know this about this player," and all about that. He wasn't one to flaunt it, but he was very quiet and modest about it. But he had a computer chip, it seemed, just that kind of recollection, and not only of players but friends, and where you had dinner with those friends, where you spent time with those friends. It's hard to measure that loss and hard to process it, because such a tremendous guy.
And as I mentioned, heading into the weekend with the Bombers and Riders playing in Regina, as they do every year on Labor Day, this is a day, a perfect example of what we'll miss with Craig. The Bombers signed a couple guys. He would be the first one dropping the scouting report and letting everybody know who these guys are, what they've done in the past. And I'll say this, we all know how fun the weekend is in Regina for Bomber fans and Rider fans, getting together and having a big party and, going at each other with the fun rivalry. I can guarantee one thing on Sunday at Mosaic Stadium is that everybody in blue and everyone in green will take a moment to remember Craig, and I'm sure there'll be a moment for him after someone that meant so much to football on the prairies, football in the Canadian Football League, but also the 2 franchises that'll be going at it in the annual matchup.
And such a Canadian success story too. He accomplished all of this, born in Canada, raised in Canada, eventually scouted throughout the United States, but the foundation of all of it was growing up in Winnipeg and watching the Bombers, watching the CFL, appreciating the stars of this wonderful game. And I think the spirit that with which Craig approached Canadian football will be on display here on Sunday and then the following weekend in Winnipeg.
Rob Vanstone's with us in Regina as we remember our good friend Craig Smith, but also look ahead to the Labor Day Classic. Listen, pretty impressive first half of the season for the Riders, going 8-1. The second half didn't start as well as the first half went, although funny enough, the lone blemish also to the Calgary Stampeders. I'm trying to wrap my head around a team that was the longest shot on the board to win the Grey Cup going into the season, Rob, is now 5-0 against Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, but that is exactly what Calgary has done, although they've lost a couple other games that you probably wouldn't expect them to. What were your takeaways of the way Calgary shut the Riders down in the second half, unlike really anything we've seen, with the exception of their game at Mosaic earlier in the season?
Yeah, the Calgary performed very impressively, not only in Regina but in Calgary, and the Rough Riders and the coaches on through the players give them full marks for that. I think the Riders know there's a better game within them. We saw flashes of that in both games. And it was in the second quarter, the Rough Riders took over and actually led at halftime after a bit of a tough start. In the first game here, it was still 24-10. In a lot of weeks, if you hold an opponent to 24 points, you're probably going to win, or you have a very good chance of winning. And so, it might be one of those anomalies too. You pointed to Calgary's record against Ottawa, albeit one of those games was without Vernon Adams Jr. Sometimes you just get those seasons. I remember, Bomber fans will probably remember this more fondly than I do, but in 1976, the Riders were 0-3 against Winnipeg and 11-2 against the rest of the league. The Riders finished first in the West Division at 11-5, even though Winnipeg was a tough puzzle to solve. And then Edmonton beat Winnipeg in the West semifinal, and Riders ended up beating Edmonton. So, last time the Riders finished first was in 2019 and 0-2 against Calgary that year. And it was Winnipeg who ended up coming to the Western final in this very facility. So sometimes there's just anomalous things that happen during the regular season. I don't say that to take any credit away from Calgary. The Stampeders performed terrifically, but sometimes a team just gets the better of one during the regular season, and sometimes you can have a completely different result in the playoffs.
What is sort of weird with the way the schedule has gone is that, the Bombers have already played Calgary 3 times and are 0-3. Winnipeg and Saskatchewan still have 3 meetings and are yet to go head-to-head. Of course, the next 2 weeks will be the Labor Day Classic and the Banjo Bowl. And this is certainly the teeth of the Riders' schedule, I would say, as well as the Bombers. I mean, there is a lot on the line. The team's been doing a lot of winning, and it had been a long time since they've had to, sit back in the dressing room after taking a loss. How would you categorize the reaction to what happened, especially in the second half by the Riders? I imagine that they'll be an angry bunch when the Bombers come to town on Sunday.
I would expect so. The Rough Riders, and I think all football teams try to flush a game regardless of the result. You don't want to get too high on it when you win. You don't want to be too despondent when you lose. But that one has got a gnaw at them. And I know the Calgary game, the previous Calgary game, gnawed at the Rough Riders, and they rattled off 4 straight wins after that. So those things can it's human nature. But I think if you look at it, the Bombers at 6-4, that's a pretty good record, but I'm not sure it's where they want to be, and it's not where they're used to being. So I think both teams have, something in the back of their mind, or should have something in the back of their mind, where we're better than this. We've shown we're better than this, and we've shown through time we're better than this. And I'm looking forward to this collision and the one subsequent to it, and the one subsequent to that. I mean, there's nothing like Riders and Bombers this time of year, and going down this stretch is just, like Craig Smith, it's something I grew up with and a lot of us grew up with.
Well, and the one thing growing up with this game, I think we can safely say, is that more often than not, you can toss the records out the window when you get to Labor Day and when you get to the Banjo Bowl. I mean, maybe the most famous one from a Winnipeg perspective, after getting our asses kicked basically for an entire decade, 2011, we rolled in. Gary and I did a couple buses for that. The Bombers are 7-1. The Riders are 1-7. Finally, Winnipeggers have a chance to pump their chests out, and I'm sure we did a lot of that over the course of the weekend until the game happened. And the Riders won at home and then won the Banjo Bowl as well. And it sort of started a bit of a decline for the Bombers. Now, if you recall, they still ended up winning the division and going to the Grey Cup at 10-8 to take on BC. But that was a time where, they were kind of flying high, and you realize how long the season is and how you need to maintain. And in kind of a weird role reversal this year, certainly not a 1-7 team, but the Bombers will be a pretty significant underdog in this game for the first time in a while, Rob. And that is a space that the Riders have not been in. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. And as I say, we talked about it last week. Someone said, well, who would you rather see win this game from a Bomber fan perspective? You want to see the Riders win or Calgary? Now, Calgary win obviously puts them closer. But as far as for the next couple games, I thought maybe if they don't have the wake-up call just yet, the Bombers could be that. I don't think this is going to do anything but make the Riders more focused and more attentive when it comes to practice preparation, try to make sure that this doesn't turn into a 2-game losing streak.
Especially with upwards of 34,000 people slated to be here on Sunday. It's going to be the largest crowd in the history of this facility, which opened in 2017. So, the teams are just feed off that. And we've seen that play out when the game moves back to Winnipeg too. And, I've been to the last two, and it's deafening in Winnipeg. crowd noise there, and it's the same thing here. And silent count is going to be a big deal 2 weeks in a row. And so, I mean, there have been a lot of years where, one of the teams has had a really good record and one hasn't. There's the thing I like about this, or one other thing I like about this one, is that both teams are very good football teams. And so it has that playoff football kind of feel already. And you just look at the West and Winnipeg, Calgary, Saskatchewan, BC's got so much talent, and Edmonton is surging now. This stretch run in the West is going to be tremendous. And, three of the Rough Riders' final 8 games are against Winnipeg. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it certainly is. And now I don't really prescribe to the whole thing. The season doesn't start until Labor Day, especially anymore now with the season starting earlier, and we're now basically getting close to the final third. But there has been a lot of jockeying for position, and it is really interesting how, last year seemed like a bit of an anomaly where the East actually was close to, if not more competitive or better than the West in a lot of cases. It's right back to business as usual, with the West being the standard in the Canadian Football League right now. Riders number 1, but you got Calgary, Winnipeg, and I still think, despite giving up a 50-burger in Toronto, BC's still a very dangerous team. And now, full Undertaker move, the Edmonton Elks all of a sudden have won 3 games in a row, and that Battle of Alberta all of a sudden has some major, major implications, especially for the visitors who, after probably being written off 7-8 games into the season, now are showing a bit of life. And it's a former rider, Cody Fajardo, that's showing that he is not dead yet either.
Yeah, Cody Fajardo's played tremendously for the Elks. And that's, I mean, there's obviously more to it than the quarterback, but if you just look at the team's record since Cody took over, they're one near completion in the end zone away from even a better record with Cody as the starter. And it's funny, people used to say the season doesn't start till Labor Day. Now it starts before Canada Day. So things have changed quite a bit since that saying was coined. But I even look at the East, though. You saw what Toronto did this past weekend, and Nick Arbuckle putting up the totals he did. And I think Ottawa has the talent to be a dangerous team. We've seen what Hamilton can do. And when Montreal gets Davis Alexander back, that's going to be a much different football team. So I think things might even out divisionally down the stretch. I'm glad I don't make predictions for part of a meager living anymore, because I don't even know what I do.
Rob Vanstone's with us in Regina as we look ahead to the Labor Day Classic. What have your thoughts of the Bombers been so far this season? I mean, there's been ups, there's been some downs, there's been a lot of adversity. I mean, first it was the secondary, now it's the receiving core. I imagine from a Saskatchewan perspective, especially thinking of what the Bombers have done over the course of the last 5 seasons, you can't take anything for granted against a Mike O'Shea coach team.
No, never take them lightly. I remember early last season when the Bombers had that rough start, and people were already, preparing their eulogies, just like, hold on here, and look where they ended up, as they typically are in the Grey Cup. Even at points this season, people were quick to write them off. And the injuries this team has sustained to key personnel, to the extent that Chris Trevler is being used as a receiver, and they won that game. There's just so much pride there, and so much direction, and so much talent. And it is at your own peril that you write off the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And despite the way things went on Saturday, I would suggest the same thing about the Rough Riders.
Hey, Rob, you mentioned 34K expected, the biggest crowd ever in Mosaic Stadium history, which is great news. There was actually a lot of talk about maybe the fans were staying away earlier on in the season. I mean, take us through the first year. How much has the great start in the first half of the season sort of reinvigorated this fan base?
I think that's helped a ton. Winning is always beneficial. I think a lot of the things the Rough Riders did during the offseason and during previous off seasons are also helping. And when the franchise was sold, when the Hamilton game here was sold out, I think the team sold a record number of family packs. And that's basically 4 tickets for $99. And so much attention has been paid to pricing and making things convenient for fans and really getting the message out to fans. And I think there was a groundswell of that leading up to the Hamilton game. I think that helped as well. And then this game, I mean, it sells itself every year. And I mean, there's just so much background to this game. And I'm not talking about the fact that this is the 60th. They're just, when you look at 3 out of the past 5 Western finals, these teams have collided. Their proximity in the standings this year, the curiosity factor, because they have yet to meet this season. There's just so much wrapped up in this game. I can hardly wait till Sunday.
Let me ask you this. I mean, from your perspective, you've covered this team, Riders in particular, but both of these teams in the league for a long time. I think I could make an argument that in my lifetime, the Bomber rivalry, the Bomber Rider rivalry, has never been better than it is right now. I mean, for a long time, it was always a big deal, but to be honest, more often than not, at least one, if not both of the teams weren't particularly very good.
Yeah.
And over the course of the last 10 years, but especially the 5, as the Bombers have been there, I mean, the Riders have been right there as well. And it really has created, I think, a much bigger event in and around Labor Day. And then, of course, the way the Banjo Bowl's grown each and every year, I mean, it sort of speaks for itself. But, I mean, we often talk about the golden age of Bomber football right now with what the team and the organization's done and with all the straight sellouts. But I would say that Labor Day, the Bomber-Rider rivalry, is in a similar position right now.
I would agree 100%. The Riders and Bombers, I mean, I grew up watching the Riders in Edmonton have their rivalry. They met 5 straight years in the playoffs. And generally, when teams meet in the playoffs and are at the same tier for a while, that fuels the rivalry. Geography helps too, but Riders in Montreal met in 2 straight Grey Cups, and suddenly there was a rivalry that stretched, several thousand kilometers. The Riders in Calgary seemed to meet a lot in the playoffs, late 2000s, early 2010s, and that was big. In the mid 2000s, it was Riders in BC. It seemed every year. So now we're seeing, I think, evidence of that with the Rough Riders and Bombers, 3 of the past 5 West finals. And it's funny, they've never really had before that kind of streak. There were a few meetings in the 50s. They met in the playoffs in 65 and 66. They met in 71 and 72, met in 75. But you didn't have that, I think, that stretch of Riders Bombers in the playoffs that even enhanced the fact that these 2 franchises are the franchises are the closest to one another. And all of that, I think, wraps it up into it's a natural rivalry because of the geography. And then you incorporate the teams and where they've been, the frequency with which they've played each other in the playoffs or in important games, and that just makes it even better.
What is it a 6 o'clock local start for the game on Sunday?
It is 5 o'clock here.
So 5 o'clock. So I guess that's 6 o'clock in Winnipeg. I always lose track of whether you guys are on the same time as us or. Oh,
as a Jets fan, it drives me crazy because it's like, okay, what time do I start? It is in October and in March or April. It messes up my calendar all the time.
Hey, speaking of the Jets, what have you thought of the offseason? And just as a fan, how excited are you to see what Jonathan Toews can bring to the operation?
I am really intrigued by that. I think there's going to be intangibles there that you just can't measure in goals and assists. That's tremendous. I am really not deflated, but disappointed, not surprised to see Nikolai Ehlers go. He's my favorite Jets player. I loved watching him play. I can understand all the reasoning behind it, and something has to give in a salary cap league. But that one is, I think, going to be painful for me for a while. But there's such a wealth of talent remaining, and I want to see what can be done in year 2 under Scott Arniel. Tough to top what they did in the regular season, but it's the playoffs by which this team is going to be judged, and there's still, I think, the talent there for a long playoff run, hopefully a longer playoff run, as long as there's Connor Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey and Kyle Connor, and I could just keep rattling off the list of players that Chevy has put on the ice. That speaks well of what should happen for the Jets this season.
Yeah,
I hope.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to have to do for a while without Captain Adam Lowry, which will be a blow to the team, but the second line to me is the most interesting. We'll be paying so close attention. First of all, how does Toews look? How is he coming back? I mean, all of that. You've got Gustav Nyquist, who's been signed on a 1-year deal that presumably will get that spot. But for me, Rob, especially with the loss of Nikolai Ehlers, I mean, I look at Cole Perfetti and think not only does he have a huge opportunity going in a contract year to really plant his flag and say, I am a difference maker in this top six, he'll have all the opportunity in the world to be a real offensive catalyst on that line, and frankly, might be one of the most important players for the Winnipeg Jets to take that next step, considering that Nikolai Ehlers has left the building, and there'll be a lot more on 91's shoulders to carry the weight offensively. Especially
when you look at it, and where's the upside? Mark Scheifele is 32 years old, so we've probably seen the ceiling or close to it, right? Kyle Connor has already scored 47 goals in a season, has approached 100 points. He's in his late 20s. He's still in his prime, but I think we've probably seen, by and large, the best totals of the best players. But what is the ceiling for Cole Perfetti? That really intrigues me. And it's a different type of player than Ehlers. I mean, replacing Ehlers' speed is virtually impossible. Cole Perfetti doesn't have nearly that kind of turbo power, but he possesses so many other things and is such a smart player that I think there's a lot he can accomplish. It just that second line last year was a concern going into the playoffs. There's so much talk about the second line center, I think there's talk about that this year and how is that going to go. But if your fallback is Jonathan Toews, and I don't care at what age, I think that's very comforting.
Rob, listen, thanks so much for the chat and the words on Craig's passing. I know he'll be in all of our hearts as we get together for the biggest party of the season on the prairies for the Labor Day Classic. And here's to a great weekend coming up and a very fun return visit for you and Gang Green to the Peg for the Banjo Bowl the following weekend.
And thanks so much, Huss. I hope to run into at either or both of those events. So beware. I'm looking for you.
I'm looking forward to it, pal. Thanks so much for the time, and enjoy the week, and we'll see you on Sunday.
You bet, Huss. Take care. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, there's Rob Vanstone, and again, if you Rob did a really nice piece. If you go to riderville.com, just on the loss of our friend Craig Smith and his incredible run as a player personnel executive within the Canadian Football League. All right, we're going to have Mike McIntyre jump on with us in a few minutes. Connor's jumping on later on as well. Do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto, listen, they are headquartered in Winnipeg, founded in Winnipeg, and do so much to support our local sports teams. Of course, the Bombers and Princess Auto Stadium. Of course, us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, and we're a big, big part of helping put on that Manitoba Open on the weekend. Mike McIntyre is going to join us to talk that and much more coming up in just a minute. Of course, Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new, waiting for you at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them on Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon. And of course, you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Was great to see another monster walleye come out of the lake on Aikens on the weekend. I was just perusing my social media and saw the biggest one of the year, 29.5 inches coming out of the lake. They're still biting at Aikens Lake. And I should give a shout out to our pal Wayne Larveld, who was with us at Aikens earlier this year. He caught a 29-inch walleye, and we should have been celebrating that sucker at night, at dinner, with the mug. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had other ideas, and we were on that plane to get the heck out of there with the fires that picked up on that day in early July. Bottom line is, though, Aikens Lake is open for business till the middle of September. They still do have some availabilities. If you want to maybe get out on the water, go to aikenslake.com. Let them know you heard us talking about it on Winnipeg Sports Talk, and Pitt will hook you up with a 10% discount for any booking until the end of the season for 2025, now that they're back at it. aikenslake.com and at Aikens Lake on all the social channels if you want to see everything going on out over at Aikens Lake. And hey, I don't want to focus on Labor Day and what's after that, back to school, back to work for many people. But guys, it is a time where you might be thinking, I need to up my menswear game. That is why you head on down to F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown. The best in custom men's clothing, including custom suits starting at just $400. Chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories in the city. So pop by in store or make an appointment and check them out online. That's EPHapparel.com. And by the way, guys, if you are getting married or in a wedding party, make sure you talk to the fellas at F about a special discount when the boys get their suits for the big day at F Apparel. All right, we've got Mike McIntyre coming up in just a few minutes. We'll bring Remis back in here in a minute while we wait for Mike to join us. And fun chat with Rob. He's such a nice guy. He's sort of the Ed Tate of the Riders. Long time, very respected scribe in town, now working with the club. The thing I love talking with Rob, though, is you get a great taste of the rivalry on the football side of things, but he's also one of the biggest Jet fans around, and I know throughout the winter is always tuning into WST for the latest on his hockey team.
Yes, I know Rob is a listener and covered the Riders for a long time, now working with the team. He just sent us an email saying how much fun he just had with you, Huss. So always a pleasure having Rob on the show. Been calling him for a long time now to come on and talk Riders. Always a great time of year, Labor Day coming up, the back-to-back games. And, hopefully for us here, we can be talking about a Bombers win here next week.
Hey, listen, it is a tall task. Hey, I'll ask you this. I mean, I know we'll sort of get to this later on when we get to the lines for the weekend. But what do you think the line will be? Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't even looked. It's in Regina. I think the Riders will be favored maybe 2.5, 3.5.
Let's put this out to the chat. What do you think the point spread will be for the Labor Day Classic? Do not answer if you've already seen it. Predictions. What will the spread be? You said 2.5 or 3.5?
No, wait, not 2.5. I'll go 4.5.
My guess is 6.
Oh, that match?
Well, I mean, they're first place.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on a neutral field, they probably get 3 points, and I think they'll probably get 3 points for home. Reg Dunlop says 10.5. Comet says 4. Let's do this right now. This is a great why not question of the day. Before we do any checking, let's get your thoughts in on what the line will be, and then we'll dive into some fan feedback. Brought to you by fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. And of course, at Fans First, what you see is what you pay. No added fees whatsoever, which is a nice departure from most of the other ticketing sites that you'll see. Speaking of which, and of course, the one great thing about Fans First, while you guys put in your predictions, Bomber games are now on. So, you've got the upcoming game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We've got the September 6th, I guess, is the Banjo Bowl, which is, of course, already sold out. So there are tickets there for that. Let's just do a quick and see what we got going on. So, excuse me. Yeah. Get in price now for the Labor Day game. They do have a few pairs pretty high up between $80 and $111. So business is booming in Saskatchewan and Winnipeg for these big rivalry games. I'm not sure where we're sitting for the 1930 crew, but looking forward to doing it up with all of you guys again. Congratulations again to Derek Schmidt. All right, let's get to this fan feedback. Justin F, 5.5. Leslie, 5.5. Snooka's with me at 6. Johnny Bender, 7. 4.5, 6.5. Mary Jane, 4.5. John D, 2.5. Well, the answer right now, as we get ready, we don't have them at CoolBet yet. I do think that it was 7 when Dusty said to me. So 6.5. So I think it'll probably end up under 7, I would think. But we will see. We'll have the official line at CoolBet tomorrow on CFL 110 when Jeff Hamilton joins me on that. But listen, let's Lots to talk about with very busy Mike McIntyre before he jaunts off. I need to know whether he has a backup plan for the draft we have going on when he is on a cruise ship. But there's business to be done first. Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, joins us again after a very busy sports weekend in and around the Peg. Mike, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great, Huss. I actually, sorry for being a few minutes late here. I'm also juggling, even though today's technically my first day of holidays. I had one last big interview to do on a news project that I've been plugging away at all summer. So I just got out of that meeting. I'm sitting in my parked car here. So all is good, busy day. And yes, the draft next week, I might be the first person, certainly for this draft, that's probably going to be doing it from Bermuda, which is where I'm going to be next Monday night. I've already checked. I will have internet availability.
Yes.
And there will be no auto drafting. I will be doing my picks by myself from the wonderful island of Bermuda, which is where our ship will be stopped that evening.
I was wondering if you were in the middle of like international waters, how good that Starlink setup was going to be for it. But yeah, we're looking forward to firing up the Winnipeg Media League this year again, and the countdown is on. Hey, I will get to your holiday plans at the end, but let's talk about the weekend. I mean, first of all, you were out at Breezy, you were following it. And we talked about this on, was it Thursday or Friday? I mean, just gutted for everyone that put so much into putting this event on, that, you know, they not only lost Thursday's round after that insane rain, but, you know, didn't get the green light to play on Friday, which of course cut the tournament essentially in half. But the combination of the weather, the course, there was a lot of worries that we were going to see a ton of course records. It was playing real tough. No one would know that more than Jet goaltender Eric Comrie.
Oh, yeah, that when he took the 10 on the par 4 in his first round the other day, I joked that they had to get him out of there. That they needed to pull Comrie and put Connor Hellebuck into the tournament, which was not an option. But Eric made a mess. I think that was the 14th hole, if I recall. I'm going off the top of my head. He made a mess of that hole. For folks going, how do you make a 10 in a golf tournament? Well, he put his tee shot. He lost his tee shot. It went into the trees. They couldn't find it. Hit his provisional basically into the same spot, but they were able to find it. Then he had to hack his way out of there, which took like 3 more shots. Then his ball got stuck in the rough, which took another couple shots just to get out of the rough. And then to add insult to injury, or insult to insult, he 3-putted for the 10. I was telling Eric the other day that if I was just playing like around him, I would have picked my ball up and just called it a hole, and probably wrote an 8 down on my scorecard. But snowman is usually my personal maximum. Of course, tournament play, you got to grind it out. You got to hit every shot. You got to put that ball in the hole. And so that was a bit painful. Now, that was the low light for Eric. The highlight would have been yesterday on his 10th hole, which was the first at Breezy. He played the front 9 or the back 9 first, but he chipped in from about 80 yards out for his one and only birdie. So at least he can say that he had a birdie in a professional golf tournament. He also, Huss, it was a funny chat with Eric after his round yesterday. As you can expect, Eric Comrie, the guy is always positive. He's always smiling. So he just recorded 42 over par in his 2 rounds. He was quick to point out 2 things. One, and you can bet that this is going to be brought up in the Jets dressing room a ton, that he is the first Winnipeg Jets player to play the weekend at the Manitoba Open. He would, that's like the first thing out of his mouth. Now, there's a giant asterisk beside that, of course, because there was no cut and there was no Thursday, Friday play this week. But hey, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. He's got that bragging right over his teammates. And then I love the fact that he said, I'm not the highest scoring Jet of all time. Now, Huss, this is up for some debate. Him and Kyle Connor both took 184 shots in their tournament play. But it should be noted that Kyle Connor was only 40 over par. I think that graphic that Remo's putting up there, I might have had the number wrong originally. Kyle Connor was just 40 over par, whereas Comrie was 42 over because Southwood played to a 72. Breezy was a 71. So for Eric to say that he's not the highest scoring Jet because he only tied Kyle Connor as the highest scoring Jet, well, technically true, but if you're going by par, he is the highest scoring Jet. But again, I don't imagine Eric will that there'll be much reasoning with him. Him and Kyle Connor may have some fierce debate over that notable achievement.
Yes, well, listen, it's the skill of every great golfer to massage the truth in whatever way they need to make that round look a little bit better and coming back. Of course, Eric was playing with Braxton Kuntz, who had a lot going for him. Unfortunate for him, especially that this wasn't able to get off, I think, a little earlier because, I think there was maybe some nerves that first round a little bit. Did come around with a strong play yesterday. Missed technically making the cut, which would have been big for him to skip a level of Q School for the Corn Ferry Tour.
And cash a check.
Well, absolutely. Now, yes, being a professional, but a lot of support for Braxton from Breezy Bend and Manitoba Golf, out seeing what he was able to do in his professional debut.
Yeah, and he didn't embarrass himself at all. Not that I expected he would. He's won over through 2 rounds. Nothing wrong with that. And I would say, Huss, watching Braxton play a little bit over those 2 days, his score did not reflect his play, and that was a big part of his frustration talking to him after the round yesterday. And Eric Comrie said the same thing, that he hit the ball way better than he actually scored. Braxton's big issue was the short stick, the putter, and those greens at Breezy were playing really tough. He just couldn't buy a putt, and so he was 2 over in his first round, 1 under yesterday. He was actually 2 under coming onto the last hole, which he bogeyed, and he missed a putt that he would say he certainly should have made. So yeah, it was a good showing, and it's just the start, I think, of what should be a really good career for Braxton. Shout out to Corey Johnson and the gang at Breezy. They are really, and Braxton is very appreciative of it, but they're really throwing their weight behind Braxton. They've got a fundraiser in a couple weeks coming up for him because it's expensive, and like Braxton, he's not a millionaire. He does not come from a lot of money. Some golfers do. They can be self-sufficient, self-funded when they're starting out. Braxton's not one of them. But the folks at Breezy, they are they're putting their support behind him. They'll have a fundraiser that's going to raise some money so that he can go to a couple Q schools this fall. He's got the Asian Q school and the Corn Ferry one that he's going to take a run at, and hope to try and get his card on one of those tours. He'll go down to the States this winter, play some mini tours down there. And yeah, the future is very bright. And it would be a great story if Braxton could follow, Aaron Cockrell, who right now is clearly the pro golfer from Manitoba. We need more Aaron Cockrells out there, and Braxton is certainly on a good path to eventually get there.
Yeah, overall, and just quickly on Corey and certainly Craig, who was the head of the grounds team. Yeah. I hope Corey is, and I'm sure they're taking down everything. He probably hasn't yet. At some point, those 2 guys are going to need to sleep for like 48 straight hours. Agreed.
But first, I'd like them to go mow the rough, because that was a little like get out there first. Hopefully they're out there first thing this morning. That rough, I know they said they were going to grow it out to about 5 inches. Plus, there were some people telling me yesterday, they thought it was more like 8 inches. And all that rain probably just caused it to explode. A quick story. I played in the Pro-Am last week. One of my playing partners snapped his club in half trying to hit out of the rough. That's how hard it was. I didn't see anything like that happen with the pros, but I can tell you this. My whole chest and upper body was sore for a few days. Like, it's like I had done an excruciating upper body workout and pulled all the muscles in my chest because I was hitting out of that rough so much. So, yeah, I mean, it was, hey, the winning score was 11 under. There were people predicting like that guys were going to shoot 11 under in one round. And the winning score through 2 rounds was 11. Obviously, the wind had a real role in that, but the rough and the narrow fairways were so it was a great look for Breezy. Obviously, it would have been nice if they could have played all 4 rounds. And pretty cool story, Huss, on the winner, Theo Humphrey. This guy is an absolute, and I say this almost affectionately, he's a head case. He is the first winner that I'm aware of the Manitoba Open who won the tournament despite getting a penalty stroke in one of his 2 rounds, which was yesterday for slow play. And this is an issue. If you Google or search on Twitter, Theo Humphrey, there are viral videos of this guy. He was a college phenom, played in the U.S. Open back in 2018 as a rookie, right out of college. And he was expected to do big things in golf, but he can't get out of his own head. He's suffered from the yips, anxiety. He had never won a golf tournament in 101 tries. Yesterday, this was his 102nd. He finally has his first pro victory. But even in winning yesterday, Huss, he had the yips. He stands over his ball and then for seemingly ever and like freezes. And he also, like, playing partners must hate playing with him. He gets behind the ball. It looks like he's going to hit. Then he steps back. Then he readdresses the ball. Then he steps back. And even after he was penalized yesterday, he still was doing this because it's just a thing that he has, a tick, if you will. But maybe winning a golf tournament is the ultimate form of therapy for him going forward.
Yeah, that. What were the circumstances with the slow play penalty? I mean, how was that? I mean, they're obviously warned. They're put on the clock. I mean, at some point. Well,
get this. He stood over his ball, he told me, and didn't do anything for 53 seconds. That's a long time to just hover over your ball.
That's brutal, is what that is.
When you've already been told that you're on the clock, and then but here's and again, this just feeds into like, how does this even happen? He said that the reason he stood over the ball so long is originally he wanted his 9-iron. Somehow he had his 8-iron. He had the wrong club, which just messed with his head and kind of threw him all out of sync. Like, yeah, he put it this way, Huss. There were some people around that tour that were not thrilled that he won the tournament because there's a lot of people that do not like him because of the way he goes about playing the game. For me, from a story perspective, I mean, it made for a great story that this guy that was touted almost a decade ago as a phenom, but can't get out of his own way, finally has the big breakthrough. And, you know, he's now 6th on the money list. So he's probably going to get his Korn Ferry Tour card next year. Top 10 at the end of this PGA America season, get it? So, you know, like Johnny Kiefer, last year's winner, you'll be able to see this guy play at a higher level. It will be very interesting, though, to see what his game, how it translates to another level, because he's got and he said yesterday that this week was a bad mental week for him, and he still won the tournament. But he said he has good weeks and bad weeks. This was a bad week. And we kind of saw that, like, even on Huss, he had a 2-foot putt to win the tournament yesterday, which we didn't know it at the time because there were still lots of guys on the course. Figured, though, that 11 was going to get it done. He took forever to sink that because, again, he just kept, like, addressing it, standing, backing off, addressing it, backing off. It's almost surprising he didn't get another penalty for slow play, which in turn would have actually caused a playoff.
certainly on the, well, listen, slow play is an issue in golf, especially at the professional level. And I am fully in support of more slow play penalties and I'm sure people that were watching that group probably felt the same way yesterday. But that being said, a really unfortunate start to the week. Got some great golf on the weekend, showed off Breezy Bend, and congratulations and a big thank you to everyone that was involved, like an army of almost 200 volunteers and everything that goes into a big event like that.
Us just to give you a little added Jets content here. I know folks loved. So who was out watching Eric Comrie yesterday that I run into? Dylan Sandberg, who actually, that graphic Remo showed earlier, Dylan Sandberg is far and away. You talk about bragging rights. Eric Comrie wants to have bragging rights. No, Dylan Sandberg has all the bragging rights. This is a guy that shot 2 over last year in his first round. 74-80. Like, he is far and away the clubhouse leader among the Jets. But Dylan Sandberg, good guy, back in town early. I said to him, like, obviously Minnesota, but I'm like, what are you doing back here so early? Because usually guys don't start skating in August, certainly not as a group. And he mentioned his wife, who I think folks certainly on social media know his wife is a dentist, right? Makes great TikTok content, that sort of thing. But she's back to work, he said, this week here in Winnipeg. So they're back early. But he went to the course, watched his teammate Eric Comrie was out there cheering him on. And so I was chatting with Dylan just about how his summer's gone, and obviously an eventful summer with, signed a new deal and all that. But so he told me that he's expecting a big wave of Jets players to the cavalry, if you will be in town, well, basically a week from now, right after Labor Day. He said a ton of guys are getting in, and you will see a lot of Jets players. What do they call them? Captain skates or whatever, like the unofficial. They're not allowed to have coaches or anything on the ice.
Who's going to be the captain at the captain skates now?
Good question. That's right, because Adam Lowry will. Well, I don't think he'll be I don't think he's at the point where even he could do leisurely skating yet. So you're right. Maybe Josh Morrissey and Mark Scheifele may have to run those. They'll be the alternate captain skates. Or I don't know, maybe Eric Comrie, because he's the only guy that played the weekend. So, he can take over leadership of that. But yeah, for folks who might be in and around the Hockey for All Center, probably around starting next Tuesday, give or take a day or two, I suspect you'll start to see a bunch of Jets. And, as the days go on, you'll see Moose guys and all that. And they'll all be rolling into town, and they'll be building up those skates for a week or two until training camp officially starts.
Well, I mean, they do have a guy in the mix that has had a Sienna's jersey for a pretty long time. Let's face it. I mean, regardless of how these off-season skates work or, they're warming up, that is going to be really interesting. I mean, the first time we see Taves on the ice, even in an unorganized fashion with the players, just kind of getting to know his new teammates a little bit more. I would imagine for the most part, most of these guys have probably not ever really met Jonathan Taves other than maybe playing against him earlier in their career.
Right. And a lot of guys, this will be a chance to get to know him. Not that he needs to be made to feel welcome in his new city of Winnipeg. Jonathan Taves, he's got a freaking lake and community club named after him. So he needs no introduction in that sense. But yeah, it'll be a good chance for guys to get to know him. And, speaking of Jonathan Taves, shameless plug here. Huss, I don't know if folks saw it. If you saw it, I had a piece that ran in Saturday's Free Press. I think it actually ran in the news section, though, but it was a feature that I did on the, shall we say, unconventional treatment that Jonathan Taves sought out. And, disclaimer, long road to rejuvenation. So a disclaimer, because some people have kind of been angry with me on social media that as if I'm advocating that this is what everybody should do. Some people refer to what he went and did as kind of voodoo, wackadoodle kind of medical science. but, and he first documented this journey to GQ like last winter, but it's not for the faint of heart. Like, this is a guy who went through, among the many procedures, daily enemas, bloodletting, induced vomiting. Like, this is not your traditional, just get into the weight room and work yourself back. Like, this is, and so I actually interviewed a doctor in India who, it's a kind of a neat part of the story, Huss. There are people in India who do not know hockey from, they don't know anything about hockey, but they Jonathan Toews, they're like fans of Jonathan Toews now, and they will be watching his journey because of what he went and did. And obviously high profile pro athlete. I talked to a naturopathic practitioner here in Winnipeg about, again, what Jonathan Toews went through. And so, disclaimer, this is not selling this as this is something folks should go do, but this is Jonathan Toews' story. As bizarre as it is, as unconventional as it is, he swears that this is what worked for him. And I guess starting this fall, we can be the judge of that. We'll kind of see what he looks like on the ice.
Well, this Indian operation is going to have a lot of stake in how Jonathan Toews plays, because if he somehow comes back and finds the fountain of youth, yeah. I have a feeling that it'll be good for business for them. The story of Toews even going there is a wild one in that, I mean, he had been dealing with these issues for a long time, and it kind of felt like, according to him, that it was worth trying because pretty much everything else he'd done really hadn't worked.
Yeah, and he was on a vacation in I think it was Costa Rica, and like he's with a couple buddies, and then there was a guy there that apparently worked as a shaman or something in India, like it's and who swore by this, and and so he had to go to this like camp in India where they didn't allow, like, he wasn't even allowed to have his phone. Like, and the other thing he talked about, there would be daily massages. And when you think massage, you think, nice and relaxing, right? No, this apparently like bordered on physical abuse.
What?
Like he got beat up and the whole, again, I'm not advocating, I'm not saying that this is what people should do. He says that the whole concept behind this was to get rid of toxins that were in the body. And there's a process that they had, which is why the bloodletting and the enemas and the vomiting and like drinking these potions, Huss, of like things that you would like curdled milk and stuff. Like it made me nauseous just to hear about it all. So, good for Jonathan Toews, I guess, for getting to a point where he's able to return to hockey. And would there have been a more conventional way to get here? I mean, he says that he was kind of exasperated and he had exercised all his options. He thought his career was done. So, obviously there will be a whole medical community, as you say, kind of following his progress here.
Well, listen, count me on Team Wild Indian treatments, because what's good for Jonathan Toews is good for the Winnipeg Jets and good for Winnipeg Jet fans. And all eyes are going to be on 19 when he steps out there.
Maybe the Jets, Huss, can get the first ever Global Series hockey game in India.
You know what? So there's a lot of people there. They can do a lot worse than get a bunch of hockey fans over there. It's probably a very untapped market, Mike.
The Jets might want to be shipping some Toews jerseys out that way. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I know we're going to miss you for the next couple weeks, but just quickly, thoughts on the Bombers going into Regina to take on the Riders. Riders still in first place. Just crazy. Calgary 5-0 against Sask and Winnipeg so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're the Bombers, obviously you want to, well, you still want to win the division is what you want to do. And, they still have, I think, a couple of weeks ago, people were ready to write this team off, right? Like, the regime, the magic is lost. It's time for change. Father Time is caught up. But here they are, 6-4. And now, staring down the team that is the cream of the crop. They, in a way, they got a lot of control here. And so, this is as compelling a storyline heading into the back-to-back games against Saskatchewan as we've seen in some times. I mean, in recent years, the storyline has always been the Bombers have been the hunted, not the hunters. Well, the roles have been reversed now. The Bombers are the hunters. They're trying to hunt down the Rough Riders. The league is always better, Huss, when Winnipeg and Saskatchewan are both really good at the same time, healthy, competitive. And the Bombers have certainly been holding up their end of the bargain. Saskatchewan, not so much in recent years. This year, all different, of course. And it's going to be, I'll be keeping obviously an eye on slightly remotely where I'll be. But, I'm really curious to see how these next 2 weeks play out. And the Bombers are still in a great position. If they want to get a bye, go right to the West Final, or at the very least, get locked down second, get a home playoff game before what they hope will be a home Grey Cup game. They're very much in the mix. And that's something I think even a couple of weeks ago, folks maybe didn't think was possible. And have the wins been the prettiest? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, they don't ask how, just how many. And right now the Bombers got 6. And if they could turn that 6 into 8 in the next couple of weeks, my goodness, wouldn't that make for quite the exciting sprint to the finish line?
No doubt about it. Mike McIntyre is with us. So what's your itinerary here? I know you're going to be in Bermuda for the draft. That's the most important part of the entire holiday.
Well, I'll also be at Yankee Stadium in a week and a half from now, watching the Blue Jays and the Yankees in what should be a heck of a my son and I are very excited about that, seeing a couple of Blue Jays-Yankees games, because we're actually taking the Bermuda cruise out of the Big Apple. So we're spending a few days in the Big Apple, then off to Bermuda, then back to the Big Apple before returning to Winnipeg. So a little bit of Broadway, a little bit of baseball, all the B's, Broadway, baseball, Bermuda. It's going to be it's going to be a blast. Yes. So big McIntyre family vacation. Looking forward to it.
Well, hey, listen, I hope you have a great time. And as I say, the other B might be some bad picks when you're doing the draft. No, hey, I'm looking forward to it. The newest member of the league actually is none other than Connor Rabchak. He's going to be jumping on in a minute. He's very, very excited for the draft. We all are. And the funny thing is, you're going to be in Bermuda. I imagine you will probably still be in much better shape than a good portion of the league, considering the draft is on the Monday as we all lick our wounds and come back from the Labor Day Classic. So it'll be a good time. Listen, have a great trip. You and your family enjoy those Jays games. We'll keep posted and check out what you got cooking on the gram. And of course, we'll have you back here and be ready to get going for Jet season pretty much right when you return.
Yeah, I'm back 2 weeks from today. So we should probably just miss next week, and then we'll be back in the saddle, maybe for our usual Monday chat 2 weeks from now. And no doubt we'll have a lot to talk about. Hey, maybe we'll even have an Adam Lowry or Kyle Connor contract extension at that point, just to throw that out into the universe as well. You never know.
That would be nice. I tried to avoid that topic. It just gets people freaking out in the chat. So I figured we just, pump the brakes on that. We'll have plenty of time to do that. Actually, hopefully don't. Hopefully it just gets nipped in the bud early. But something tells me that is going to be a constant topic until it isn't here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Mike, have a great trip. Thanks for doing this.
You bet. We'll see you at least online for the draft next Monday. I'll try and throw in a few chirps in the chat.
Good stuff. There's Mike McIntyre. of the Winnipeg Free Press. Connor is back. He's going to join us in just a minute. Hey, as we mentioned, Jets just around the corner. The skates are going to be beginning soon. And listen, for hockey players around the province, the season is just about to get going, which means you need to get down to Royal Sports, the #1 hockey superstore in Winnipeg for over 50 years, to get ready to drop the puck. Royal has the biggest and best selection of equipment, sticks, skates, goalie equipment, you name it. If it's hockey, Royal Sports has it. And they've also got a great staff of hockey players themselves to make sure you're getting the right fit and the most important fits and equipment for the hockey player in your family. Get ready to drop the puck on another season with a trip to Royal Sports, Winnipeg's #1 hockey superstore for over 50 years. Blue Jays back in action tonight. We'll talk about that and the incredible debut of Shane Bieber on the weekend. Of course, if you're looking for a great spot to watch the Jays tonight and throughout the season, make it your local Boston Pizza. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and the big game on all the big screens. Can't make it to BP tonight? You can get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online over at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're going to check in with Connor. We will talk some Blue Jays. We'll get to the cool bet lines. We've got horse picks tonight as well. First up, let's give a big cheers, though, to our good friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug. John, they found a...
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we are going to bring Connor in, Remis as well, and get into, I am quite interested. If anyone that was watching or paying attention to Connor's X feed over the weekend, I'm pretty darn jealous. First of all, the trip looked amazing, being out in Banff. But that golf course that Connor was on, you know, it's tough being that young and playing a course that great, because it's going to be pretty damn tough to top for the rest of his golf playing career. But he was out in Banff and had that. And, of course, now he's back and we're ready to get going, focusing in on lots of CFL football for the next couple weeks. And then, of course, hockey season starts, and Connor will be all over the Winnipeg Jets on a daily basis for us here on WST. Let's welcome him now. How was the trip, my friend? It looked like you guys were in one of the more spectacular places on planet Earth. Got some nice weather. A great time with the fam.
Play a nicer course, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not really sure. But an incredible week off. The weather in Banff, it was like 23 degrees and sunny every single day, and then at night it would get down to about 4 or 5 degrees. Snuggle up around the campfire, get a fire going up at the campground. It was perfect weather every single day there. Perfect weather for golf. Perfect weather for the many, swimming days and adventures we went on. So I'm rested, I'm recharged, I'm refreshed, and ready for another Winnipeg Jets season. But first, we got this Labor Day Banjo Bowl home and home, and then the NFL starts. This is the best time of the year, and I'm ready to go.
Now, what was that? The Banff Springs golf course?
It was.
I mean, listen, as I said, I mean, it was so stunning to see those photos on it. I imagine at some point you kind of even forget you're on a golf course. You're just walking around in it. But, it's certainly one of the great courses in all of Canada.
Yeah, every list I look on, it's top 5, top 3 course in Canada, and it's incredible. There's the one hole that looks right onto the Fairmont, Banff Springs, and I posted the photos on Twitter, and someone did notice. I was waiting for someone to mention it, but the photo of me hitting my tee shot on that hole, you can see the ball, and it's going way right into the bush. And there was a lot of that I did, I played okay. I mean, I didn't really care, right? Because again, I hit a tee shot into the bush, but I'm in the middle of 4 mountains looking at the Fairmont. Like, I don't care if I play bad or not. I'll take a tour of the course if I have to drive all the way over and get my
little
ball,
extra
right?
sightseeing.
So much extra sightseeing. Yeah, it was good. Our tee time started at about like 4, and we got off, of course, right when the sun was setting. Obviously, around the mountain, like the sun sets a little bit earlier because it gets blocked by the mountain. So it got pretty chilly near the end, but just an unbelievable, the coolest golfing experience of my life. And I'm not sure if I'll ever top it. But it was so cool.
I know you come from a very diehard Bomber family who are always representing in the upper bowl at the upper deck at the games. Were you guys able to see the game on Thursday?
Yes.
And what did you think about the Brady show and the way the Bombers stepped up and won that game under some pretty tough circumstances with the receivers dropping like flies?
Yeah, I should have posted the photo. I did take one. We had a little iPad just propped up on like a log of wood, and we were watching the game as it was going on there. It was started at like 5 or 5:30 out there in Banff, at least where we were with the time changes. But yeah, what a performance. Check out the WST Bombers report this morning. Me and Zach broke it down. Brady Oliveira put the team on his back. It was so impressive. And we also gave a shout out this morning on WST Bombers report to the interior of that offensive line, Gabe Wallace, Chris Kolinkowski, and Pat Neufeld. The push they were getting on some of those runs was so impressive that Brady could hit the hole hard and then finish with violence, as he often does in the secondary. And there were certain plays as that game went on that were so impressive. The Willie Jefferson knockdown on 3rd and 4 with 6 minutes left. The Terry Wilson 3rd and 1, 16-yard run to keep that drive going. The entirety of the 10-play, 80-yard rushing, I almost called it a rushing drive, but it essentially was. It ran the ball every single play that ended in a Brady Oliveira touchdown. The defense, I'm not taking too much from that side of the ball in this game because they were playing James Morgan, a 4th-string quarterback, but offensive, no turnovers, bully ball. This is the Bombers offense we've seen over the last number of years. And if, Nick Dembski and Jared Stearns, if we get updates on them and Dalton Schoen, I think there are bright days ahead for the offense.
Yeah, we'll certainly be hoping to see Dalton Schoen at practice. If you tuned in a little bit late, the Bombers did make a couple of moves today. 3 Down Nation reporting that the Bombers have signed Kyron Moore, who missed last season with the torn ACL, last played in 2023 with the Edmonton Elks, former Saskatchewan Roughrider, and Cam Eccles, who was last on the roster of the Calgary Stampeders and was released in May. So, fingers crossed on Dembski. I'm not expecting Stearns to be able to go, which should be unfortunate for him as a former rider. Those are guys that really love stepping up as the opposition in Labor Days and Banjo Bowl games as it was. But, there'll be a lot of focusing on what the latest with the Bombers is as we get ready to head out to Regina this weekend for the Labor Day Classic. It was a pretty wild weekend in the Canadian Football League. Calgary's defense shutting out Saskatchewan in the second half. And I still think the most incredible performance of the weekend, though, was Argos hanging the 50 burger on BC. Nick Arbuckle, another 400-plus yard game, 3 touchdowns. He almost had 450 on the game. And, for all the great things BC does offensively, this is another pretty devastating loss to them in that the Elks all of a sudden are just a half game behind them right now with a lot of momentum going into Calgary. And much like we can often say, throw the records out when Winnipeg and Saskatchewan play at Labor Day, I think the Elks are feeling the same way with a lot of momentum and Cody Fajardo playing some incredible football.
Yeah, I didn't catch those games live. That was the night that I was golfing, but I did rewatch the Calgary-Saskatchewan game specifically. I wanted to rewatch that because I was shocked when I saw that score. Calgary and Saskatchewan have the 2 best defenses in the CFL, at least for my money. And I think Calgary, that was a bit of a statement in that second half, what they did to Trevor Harris, that they proved that they have the best CFL. We've seen it 3 times this year when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers lost all 3 games to the Stamps. That defense is legit. It's a Grey Cup winning caliber defense. And I don't know, 5-0 against Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. I don't know what more they need to do to prove that they are a legit contender in the West, and especially because of that defense. And then BC, that's just the most typical BC game ever. Yeah, Nathan Rourke can look great and you can put up 30 points. But if you give up 50, you're not going to win the football game. And for Nick Arbuckle to hang 400 plus and 3 touchdowns with no picks on the BC defense, just an embarrassing performance from BC's defense, quite honestly. And that puts them in a spot where, like you said, Huss, Edmonton has won 3 straight. BC's now, just lost to what everyone thought was the worst team in the CFL in the Toronto Argonauts and gave up 50 points. Where are we at with the BC Lions and the Edmonton Elks and the crossover? There's a lot of intrigue with the CFL going into Labor Day weekend. I can't wait with all of these games coming up down the stretch. But the biggest thing for me so far, right as it stands today in the CFL, is how much parity there is around the league. Like Montreal, I think we're all expecting them to get a heck of a lot better when Davis Alexander returns. You got Hamilton, who looked great and is starting to tail off a little bit, but still absolutely contender in the East. Saskatchewan, Calgary, Winnipeg. I don't think any of us would be shocked if either of those 3 teams came out of the West. And then BC and Edmonton, I mean, I mentioned the crossover earlier. They're not quite Grey Cup contenders yet, but they're definitely a contender to make the playoffs, whether it's in the West or the East. So a lot of intrigue in the CFL as we hit the stretch run.
Yeah, no doubt. Remo, you want to go to a 3-shot and jump in here? I want to talk some Jays. Interested to get your take as well on the debut of the Beeps on Friday night. The Blue Jays, Connor, had made some pretty big additions come the bullpen where they really needed some help. I think the way that the bats have been going, especially with getting Dalton Varsho back and him hitting a home run every 10 plate appearances, they're looking pretty good in that. But holy smokes, I mean, Bieber with 9 strikeouts, giving up only 2 hits in his first start, coming back from missing basically more than a year plus. What an addition for Toronto. And if that is the Shane Bieber that this team has moving forward, Blue Jays are going to be even more of a problem for the rest of the AL once the playoffs come.
If that's the Shane Bieber they're getting, which is healthy Shane Bieber, Cy Young levels of talent, he's their game 1 starter in the playoffs. Like, that was unbelievable. That was everything you wanted to see for a pitcher coming back from a major arm surgery. And 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts with no walks. I love John Schneider after the game saying he's a believer. I am too. That was an incredible performance from Shane Bieber. The TSN did a great kind of rundown on his pitch mix. And, he's not a guy that throws for very high velocity. He'll top out at 92, 93 on his fastball. But I was seeing some of the videos that they were showing, some of the highlights of his knuckle curve. And I couldn't wait to see it in a Blue Jays uniform. Some of his strikeouts, like, I don't even know. I know everyone says that hitting a baseball is maybe the hardest thing for the average person to do in sports, whether it's a 100-mile-an-hour fastball or a knuckle curve that starts at your chest and ends in the dirt. But I don't know how hitters are supposed to hit that when that's his strikeout pitch and they know it's coming and they still can't even touch it. He's a incredibly talented pitcher, and if he's healthy and looks like that and is getting swing and misses as often as he was, I don't see why he can't be the game 1 starter for the Jays in the playoffs, in big games, and be a high-impact pitcher.
Reem, I'm sure you'd agree that, if this is a glimpse of what the Jays are going to see from Bieber moving forward, it is a huge step forward to being a true contender, not just to win the AL with the whole thing.
Yeah, you look at where they are now in a really good spot. 5 games up on the Red Sox, 5.5 up on the Yankees, and it's 1 start, so you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but Shane Bieber appears to be looking pretty good. Max Scherzer has figured out what that hand issue that he's been dealing with. He's looking good. And, yeah, the Blue Jays trying to, Guerrero avoided that injury scare over the weekend. They're in a really good spot here. They are taking on the Twins. Pretty good pitching matchup tonight. Max Scherzer against Joe Ryan, the Twins ace. But the Twins, they're a team that sold at the deadline. The season has not been that great for them. They are 4th in the AL Central, just ahead of the White Sox. So a chance for them at home. We know they play well at Rogers Center to keep on adding to their win total this season on top of the AL East.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, the Twins sold everybody at the deadline, maybe except Joe Ryan. So they are a shell of what they were, and they weren't particularly good to begin with. That's why everybody got traded. A big opportunity for the Jays, and I would suggest this is the game. I mean, you've got Scherzer, but you're going up against a pretty darn good starting pitcher. You find a way to win this one. You'll have some more advantageous matchups over the rest of it. And, of course, Louis Varland getting a chance to go up against his old team. Didn't look great yesterday. I imagine he'll get another chance or two to go up against it. Reem, funniest thing last night, the Yankees finally beat Boston. And I got thinking, and I don't have this in front of me, but the Yankees are 70-60. I wonder what their record is if you take away their head-to-head series against Toronto and Boston, because they have been absolutely crushed by the Jays this year and crushed by the Red Sox this year. Now, sort of two big ifs, the two teams ahead of you in your division, but it seems like the Yankees can beat everybody else, but are just getting steamrolled against their two biggest rivals in the AL East.
It's funny, look at run differential. They're the Yankees leading the American League at plus 101. Boston right behind at plus 100. And they're the Blue Jays at plus 55. So the Blue Jays winning, I think would say they're winning these close games. They did add about, 30 points of run differential in that series in Colorado a couple weeks ago. But yeah, the Yankees, they got some big hitters, but as we've seen, the Blue Jays seem to have their number, and I don't know if they'll meet in the playoffs or not, but what a series that would be. But there's a number of teams there in the wild card. Boston, you mentioned Yankees, Seattle's got the third wild card spot, so any of those teams could come out, and I think they're all pretty good.
Listen, while we've got the three of us here, let's take a big look at tonight's game between the Twins and Jays. We'll head on over to the Coolbet lines. Lots going on with Coolbet. NFL futures drops this week on WST winners, and then starting next Friday, every Friday morning, myself, Pat, Jake, Connor will be producing. We'll have our weekly picks against the spread and more, brought to you by Coolbet on the WST channel. Tonight's game has the Blue Jays as a minus 147 home favorite, the Twins plus 125, minus 1.5 for the Blue Jays plus 142. The pitching props, Max Scherzer over 6.5 strikeouts is plus 109. His over 5.5 is minus 192. So you really need to get to 7 to get at least double your money. Joe Ryan's strikeouts similar, over 4.5 is minus 182. Over 5.5 is 125. I did hit a nice George Springer homer prop on the weekend. Homers for tonight. Dalton Varshaw's been the guy that's just been crushing lately. His number's just at plus 334. Springer plus 332. If you think Bo might go deep, is plus 515. I actually like to bet Bo right now on the total basis. And he has been so good as of late. Over 1.5 is plus 107 tonight. Over 2.5 is plus 225. Over 3.5 total bases on hits, plus 374 for Bo Bichette tonight. I am looking at the combo cards. We do have pretty nice super boost today. Max Scherzer over 4.5 strikeouts, and Bo Bichette over a half hit. So Bo to get a hit, Max to get 5 strikeouts. That's got a nice boost from minus 161 to plus 107. I will get in on that. We've got some other Jays exclusives as well. The hit parade, Kirk, Springer, Bo, Vlad, all over a hit. I guess I'd probably hold off waiting on that one until we get the lineup. Just knowing that Vlad did come in yesterday as a pinch hitter, but not entirely sure whether he's going to be officially starting today in the field or whether they give him another day or so. As I mentioned, we'll wait for official Coolbet lines tomorrow on CFL 110, but they have shuffled up the Grey Cup odds, Remis, and Saskatchewan went from the favorite to now third. Calgary is the favorite for the Grey Cup right now. And keep in mind, this team was 19-1, the longest shot on the board at the beginning of the season. Calgary now plus 240 to win the Grey Cup. Hamilton plus 310. The Riders plus 325. Montreal 5-1. This makes no sense to me. BC plus 1150. The Bombers plus 1350. And then Toronto 22, Ottawa 24-1, and the Edmonton Elks 54-1. I know a lot of people are in love with Nathan Rourke, but considering where the Bombers are in the standings, the BC is in the standings, the tiebreaker for the Bombers, it is a little weird that the Bombers are a longer shot than the BC Lions are, especially when you consider the reputation they have come playoff time.
Yeah, that actually, I was more surprised that Calgary has vaulted to number 1. I guess they beat Saskatchewan. And then Hamilton's number 2 at plus 310 after they lost the other week, and Saskatchewan's still behind them. But I guess, Hamilton's got the easier path being in the East. And yeah, it doesn't really make sense that BC's ahead of the Bombers. I guess the odds makers like Nathan Rourke better than the Bombers offense with Zach Collaros. And I mean, this receiver situation, it was tough going into last game, and you lose Dembski and Stearns, certainly a bit of unknown there. So, a bit of a difference. I'll take it as a surprise. But how about, the Argos looking not bad there at plus 2,200, defending Grey Cup champions. Maybe they have finally put it together. Ryan Dinwiddie, very good head coach. And you saw what Nick Arbuckle did last game. That was unbelievable.
Hey, listen, if the Argos make the playoffs, and that is a big if right now at 3-8, they will scare the hell out of anyone that they're playing. I mean, when you look at what they've done in the playoffs before, the way they've won as underdogs, the teams that they beat, the championships that they've won, until they have officially flatlined, they are still a problem, and no one could tell you more about that than the BC Lions after getting the 50 burger dropped on them.
Here, one thing Tristan Rivers knows, maybe the odds makers believe that BC could be like the crossover, and you have an easier path going through the East than through the West, as they were, they're in the crossover spot right now. I don't know, they build that in? I'm sure they do.
Yeah, absolutely. They would think that would be a possibility. And that's why even at 3-8, why you're seeing those numbers for Ottawa and Toronto, in that they really don't have to do too much to get that spot if they could just win a few games and stay at least tied with the fourth place team in the West. So CFL futures up right now. We just had some college football on the weekend south of the border that kind of got going, quote unquote, week 0. Week 1 coming up next. So all the lines are up for college football. We've got the U.S. Open, both men's singles and women's singles. Nice win for Leilani Fernandez in her first round. Unfortunately, it was against Rebecca Marino, an all-Canadian matchup. But if you do like tennis, there is a ton of options on both the men's and the women's side over at CoolBet. Hey, just by the way, if you haven't played a CoolBet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And stay tuned. Once we get after Labor Day, we will start planning some monthly WST poker tourneys as well and get those going again. Looking forward to having you all join us and get going on that come the fall. So there's our CoolBet lines for today. Reem, I guess we should... I'm actually going to the track tonight. We've got some Assiniboia Downs action this evening. Listen, we'll get to that in just a minute. Do want to mention Goldeyes finished up their series with a win yesterday at home against Lincoln. They're back out on the road, I believe, against Fargo today. Bark at the Park on the weekend, always one of the best, most fun days of the year. But we are getting down to the short strokes of the regular season. We've got the Fargo series is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off today. And then Sioux City on the weekend here in Winnipeg for the final series of the season for the Winnipeg Goldeyes. So if you missed it this weekend and you're around next week, you've still got a chance to get out to the ballpark for one final series, 7 o'clock on Friday, 6 on Sunday, and then 1 p.m. games on Labor Day Sunday and Labor Day Monday. Great year at the ballpark for the fans. Obviously, that team just had that really, really ugly month of July that pretty much sunk their championship hopes. But overall, Andrew Collier, Logan, the entire gang have done a great job this year, putting on an awesome show for fans. And we'll look forward to the final few games. I'll have to go to Fridays because we're going to be out of town for the rest of the way one more time at the ballpark this year. And again, I know we talked about this with Mike McIntyre earlier, but a big shout out to Corey and the entire team at Breezy Bend for everything they did to put on the Manitoba Open. Really unfortunate with the combination of Mother Nature and the decision not to play Friday that it had to be shortened to 36 holes. But certainly it was a great way to show off what Breezy Bend's done over the last number of years with the new tee boxes, the new greens, the beautiful additions to the clubhouse. If you're thinking about making Breezy Bend your long-term golfing home, get in touch with Corey Johnson over at the course, breezybend.ca, or give him a call and start thinking about swinging it at Breezy next season for 2026. Reem, we've got some picks to make today. I pulled myself up off the mat with a winner on Wednesday, a $24 win on Exacta, a plus money day, and I'm hoping to keep that rolling into tonight and even bring some more vibes for it because I'm going to be there in person.
Yeah, I've got a couple selections here. I had a decent week last week, so we'll see how it goes. And nice to have 3 race nights this week. Hustler will be going head to head.
Yeah, definitely. Where are you going for your picks tonight?
Okay, let me pull it up. 1 second. I'm starting with race 1 for sure. I think I have what do I have? Exacta box. I'm not ready yet. Do you got yours, or do you want me to just start here?
Yeah, I wanted you to start because I glanced at the board earlier.
Here, I got one.
I might
here.
go on race 1 though. I'm a big fan of Gopher.
Yes.
And I see Mr. Jaws is the favorite. Prince of the Prairie. It's funny, the AI, though, likes the better luck next time, but I do want to put something with number 1 in. Maybe I'll go 1, 2, 3.
I am good for... I have 1-3 on my Exacta box for race 1.
Oh, nice. So you're down with Gopher as well.
I'm down with Gopher.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll go 1, 2, 3 in race 1. Start it off. I'm next. Do you have anything in 3? I'm gonna go with race number 4, my next one.
I am on 5, 6, 7 for my rest of them.
Okay, well, for race number 4, we're gonna get Sharp Likeness in. Oh, maybe I'll just roll with the chalk in this one because I love the names of these horses. Unknown Caller, number 3. Big Tippa, number 5, and Sharp Likeness, number 9.
Nice. I'm not on that one, but I've definitely thought about Big Tippa. Savage Love I've won on with before, but that's a bit down on the odds.
Savage Love actually came through for us a little earlier this year. Oh, it's been a minute since he's had it. Yeah, June 2nd had that win in the first one, but we'll stay with that original triactor that we were putting together. What do you got in 5?
I got the 2 trifecta boxes in 5 and 6. 5, I'm going 1, 2, 8, Shemayim, Whiskey, Wednesday, even though it's Monday, and Orcadian Storm. So the 2 favorites and one a bit of a, not total long shot at 6-1, but just not the next favorite.
I'm going with a Exacta box, Whiskey Wednesday, and Freemaker.
Nicely done. And I'm on race 6. I got another trifecta, 5, 6, 8. Master of Disguise, Gracious Cat, and Lieutenant Norm. And yes, that is the program selection there.
Yeah, Lieutenant Norm is always in the mix. I'm not so sure about Gracious Cat. I do like Olympic Legend. AI likes Master of Disguise. I'll go 8-5. Master of Disguise and Lieutenant Norm for my $2 exacta box.
And then I'm on race 7. I got another $2 exacta box, 3-4. War Echo, the long shot, and the favorite, Please the Court. So hopefully that works out for me.
Beautiful. All right. So, War Echo in that final one. I might tweak something. Well, as I said, I'll be there tonight. So maybe what I'll do is I'll put in my one for number 7, and then I'll just live bet the number 1. So yeah, for the 7th race, let's go number 3, War Echo. We'll go Please the Court. And then let's go with Moon Connection. 3, 4, 7. There you go. There are our picks today. Heading out to the track tonight. Cannot wait. If you do want to get to for live racing tonight, and then the regular Tuesday and Wednesday out at Assiniboia Downs, free parking, free admission. But if you do want to make a night of it, you can get out there, make a reservation in the clubhouse dining room, and take advantage of that amazing prime rib buffet and so much more out at the track. Is Connor still here? Did we lose him?
I turned off his. Let me see. Is he still there? Connor is here.
Yeah, there he is here. There he is here. I want to get thoughts on this Blue Jays game tonight before we go from you guys. Connor, what we starting off another? It kind of felt they were going to lose one of those, and that game yesterday maybe felt like a bit of a throwaway. Yankees did the Jays a favor by finally beating Boston, so they've still got this 5-game lead. I kind of like Scherzer tonight, and I think that this starts a nice run at home for the club before. And listen, they have to take advantage of teams like the Twins before some big boy games later on during the rest of this run.
Yeah, you want to see them play well now because their next series is against the Milwaukee Brewers, who have lost, you've barely lost since like late July or the All-Star break. So they've been such an impressive team, the Brewers. So the Jays can't really look ahead here. You do want to take advantage of the teams below you in the standings, and the Twins are far below. Scherzer's been pitching well as of late. I do like the Jays to win this series. I think you're at the point of the season where every single game doesn't necessarily mean as much, but if you could take 2 out of 3 in every single series, that's what obviously you're hoping to do. And I don't know about you, Huss, but I love scrolling my timeline every single night and seeing the New York Yankees middle infield just play like a little league baseball team. It's like the greatest show running right now. Jazz Chisholm goes to turn 2 and throws it 13 rows into the lower deck. It's just the funniest thing. I find it so funny watching the Yankees try and play because it's like
Volpe looked like Chuck Knobloch at the end of his career at one point yesterday as well.
Man,
Remo, what about you? Jays tonight, and man, it's funny. They might be getting Milwaukee at the best possible time because they had that insane run of 14 or 15 straight wins. Since then, though, they are 3-6.
Oh, okay.
So they've got the 4-game series at home against Arizona, and then big boy series coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we'll see whether they match up to go Bieber starting on Friday night, depending on potentially I guess the start it'll be. They've got Lauer now in the pen right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Berrios maybe gets there at some point, but. Remo, thoughts on this one? Jays get it done?
Yeah, I think so. Against the Twins? Or looking ahead to the Brewers?
Yeah, no, tonight. Tonight against the Twins.
Yeah.
Scherzer, Ryan.
I mean, Joe Ryan's pretty good, but you look at that Twins lineup. These are games that you should win. Max Scherzer's been pitching well. They're favorites at home. I do like the Jays.
One other thing, I guess, to wrap up, and it was, I know we touched on this very quickly earlier, but unfortunate end to the Sea Bears season being it on Friday night and not on Sunday night, Connor. This is the team that just found like there's a lot of talent on the squad. They just spent too much time in Brick City. Just missing the amount of threes that were missed, and Simi Shadu had a really, really rough night. And when your top player is struggling and you're not making the outside shots and you're playing against a team like Calgary, going to be pretty tough to win. What was interesting, though, was Calgary, who was the favorite coming in, couldn't get the job done. The Niagara River Lions last night repeated as CEBL champions in one of the what could be the final hosted championship series. I really do think, and you saw this by the crowd last night, it makes so much more, and it means so much more when the home team is in it.
Yeah.
I think they sort of have to go to a series where even if it's a one game, the host team or the team that has the best record gets home court and, can pack a gym with fans to really, really get into it.
Yeah, the Sea Bears season this year to me just felt like they were a very talented team. I thought they were always a talented team, even from the start of the year, and they were losing players, and Emmanuel Acott left the team at the end of the season there for a game or two. I just always thought they had the talent to do it, but they can never really just put it together. And then in a 1-game sample, you never know. They could put it together. And then in a 2-game sample, if they were to win that game, they could have put that together. But unfortunate ending to the season. And Huss, did you see how the championship game, this is the one big issue with target score time. Big game, championship on the line, target score ending. How does the game end? On a free throw. Very anticlimactic. But Niagara, congrats to them going back-to-back, winning the CEBL championship. And I don't know what the solution would be, but we got to do something about these free throws for the win and target score time. We got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it just comes with the territory. It was funny because the guy did heave one up, like knew that he was foul, but still went for a miracle shot, hoping that it went in, which probably would have been better than just sinking the 2 free throws.
Yeah.
But I still love the target score system. I think it really adds a lot to the game. And you usually get a really fun walk-off, and every now and then it's a free throw, unfortunately, for a championship at this time. But hey, congratulations to the River Lions. Congratulations to the Sea Bears and everyone that was involved in the weekend. It looked like there was, the weather didn't really cooperate. It wasn't particularly nice, but there were still a lot of people downtown taking in the festivities, seeing Sean Desmond do his thing on the weekend. So it is all there. And, oh, by the way, shout out to Keith Lillies, who said, yeah, Vladdy is hitting third tonight. I'm just pulling this up right now. Here's your Jays starting lineup. Springer, Lukes, Vladdy's hitting third and DHing tonight. Bo, Varsho, Kirk, Clement, Ty France is going to be at first base and hitting seventh. Jimenez and Max Scherzer on the bump tonight for the Blue Jays. That's getting going just after 6 p.m. So we'll have that to watch and talk about tomorrow. Of course, it is Labor Day week, and that means we are gearing up for Bombers Riders. We'll have Bombers and Riders coverage all week long, heading into the weekend. And yes, Remis, as you mentioned, I'm not sure what's going on. It sounds like there's some grinding or something like that. So sounds like a perfect time to wrap up the program.
Yeah, I'm listening with headphones. I can hear every detail. There's some major stuff going on at your place there, Huss. So probably a good time to wrap it up.
Hopefully people on the other end can't hear it. It just started. It just started lately. Connor, great to have you back. We'll chat later on this week. Again, folks, don't forget the WST Bomber Report is up. When you finish this program, check out Connor and Schnitzy breaking down everything coming out of the big win against Montreal and focusing in on the trip to Labor Day for the Blue Bombers and their fans. Thanks again to Rob Vanstone and Mike McIntyre, who joined us today on the program, and all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Enjoy this evening. Enjoy the ball game. Enjoy the track for those of you that might be out there. Say hi if you see me. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk with the latest from Blue Bomber practice as we get ready for the Labor Day Classic. Have a great night.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.